Do you want to improve your English with some colourful and fun expressions? In this podcast, we'll teach you how to use 15 common animal idioms in English, such as a fish out of water or the elephant in the room. You'll learn the meaning and the usage of each idiom, and we'll give you some examples as well. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello and welcome, especially if you're a new listener to the podcast. My name's Craig.
And my name is Reza.
And with more than 50 years of teaching English between us, we'll help you improve your English and take it up to the next level. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well. I'm enjoying that taste of a very nice chorizo, which you've just given me. It was very nice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. There's more where that comes from because we'll be having lunch after we've helped you with some animal idioms. Now, we have spoken about chicken idioms before. That was back in episode 450. So if you want to brush up, which means revise, review your chicken idioms, go to inglespodcast.com/450. There's no chickens today, but there is a duck and a goose.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing from the duck and the goose.
What's our first animal idiom, Reza?
But first, we're going to dip into the water, and we're going to talk about a fish, but out of water. That doesn't sound good, does it? Fish out of water? Doesn't sound like a good idea. Exactly. Fish out of water refers to someone who feels uncomfortable or awkward. They just don't feel right in a new or an unfamiliar situation. For example, he felt like a fish out of water at the cocktail party as he was not used to dressing up and mingling with strangers. Yeah, it was uncomfortable for him. He was like a fish out of water. It was not his natural environment.
Speaking of being a fish out of water or feeling like a fish out of water, if you feel a little bit uncomfortable when you speak English, I think my conversation fluency classes can help you not to feel like a fish out of water. It will help your confidence, it will help you to overcome your shyness when you're speaking, and it will make you more fluent and communicative. We speak in small groups of up to 8 students, and we focus on different entertaining topics, speaking together, having discussions, debates, role play activities, sometimes a presentation, etc. So if you'd like to find out some more details, so that you don't feel like a fish out of water when you're speaking, send me an email. I'm Craig, Craig, at inglespodcast, or you can go to the website englishcraig.com. Reza, if people don't want to be a fish out of water, but they want to study with a private teacher, can you help them?
Yes, if you're looking for a one-to-one lesson, one teacher, me, and one student, you, well, why not get in touch with me? The advantages of a one-to-one lesson are that there's greater flexibility. You can choose the time. You don't have to come at a time that other people choose. And also, you can choose to focus on particular aspects of English according to your own individual particular needs. That might be reading, it might be writing, it might be improving your vocabulary, or could be preparing for a specific exam. If you're interested, why not get in touch with me at belfastreza@gmail.com. You might have to wait a while because right now I'm a bit busy, but I will get back to you and hopefully we can find a time sometime pretty soon.
Reza, if I said to you that I think we should talk about the elephant in the room, do I mean that there is actually an elephant in my flat here?
I imagine not. I imagine you're being metaphorical because you're using the idiom. So the words don't have their real meaning. There's not really an elephant in the room. But there is a big or obvious problem or issue that no one wants to talk about or address. So it's a big problem, big, like an elephant, but people are just not talking about it. They're ignoring it. Like imagine you had an elephant in your room and you didn't talk about it. That would be a bit odd.
Especially if you didn't talk about the mess on the floor because it's shitting everywhere.
Exactly. Here's an example sentence to put into context. They tried to avoid talking about the elephant in the room, which was their failing marriage. So can you imagine a couple know they're not getting on, but they never talk about it? They're ignoring the elephant in the room.
Sometimes people can be deceiving. There's deception in the air. People are not what they seem. And if that person pretends to be harmless or friendly, but really is dangerous or even evil, you could say that they are a wolf in sheep's clothing. So a sheep is quite a passive animal, quite gentle, doesn't really do much, probably won't attack you. A wolf, on the other hand, if it's hungry, will attack you. So a wolf in sheep's clothing describes someone who looks quite harmless, but actually can be dangerous. Can you think of an example?
He seemed like a nice guy, but he turned out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing as he cheated on her and stole her money. He deceived her, in other words. He wasn't as nice as he seemed.
Yeah, some people are like that. Some people are not very nice. But do you think people can change? Do you think our personalities are what we develop over time because of our background, our family, our education, and we can never change who we are?
Well, they do say that a leopard can't change its spots. So a leopard is that animal which is a big cat, not a domestic cat, but from the cat family, the feline family, and it's got spots. It's got little circular markings on its body, and it always will. It's not going to change. So when you say a leopard can't change its spots, it means a person's character or their nature cannot be changed. Especially if it's bad, it tends to have a negative connotation. For example, he promised to be more honest and faithful, but a leopard can't change its spots. And he soon lied and cheated again. So he didn't really change the way he acted.
We've spoken about the elephant in the room, which is difficult to imagine, but possibly more difficult to imagine is a bull in a china shop. Spain has a reputation for bullfighting. They also happen in Mexico. A bull in a shop full of plates and glass and china. Well, you can imagine everything will be broken. So the idiom, a bull in a china shop, describes a person who's very clumsy, very careless, breaks things, causes damage or trouble. For example, he was a bull in a china shop as he knocked over the vase and broke the lamp while moving the furniture.
Our next animal is a horse. If you call someone a dark horse, it's nothing to do with the color of their skin or anything like that. It in fact refers to a person, or it could even be a thing, that is unknown or unpredictable, but turns out to be successful or surprising. For example, she was a dark horse in the competition as no one expected her to win the gold medal. But she did win it. Yeah, we didn't know how good she was. She was a dark horse.
I can remember we used to work with someone who you called a dark horse when we worked together in the language school. Do you know who I'm talking about? He was a dark horse because we thought he was very quiet and actually he had quite a busy social life. He was a dark horse. We didn't expect him to be so sociable and so engaged with people outside of work.
I do remember, but I wasn't the first to say it. I heard it from other people, but they were quite right.
Yeah, we'll mention no names, but he was a dark horse and possibly still is. Now, if there's a fly on the wall, that means there's a person who observes something secretly or unnoticed. For example, I wish I could be a fly on the wall when they have their meeting, as I want to know what they're planning. If you could be a fly on the wall, Reza, what kind of conversations would you like to listen to?
Good
I was
question.
thinking of the president of the US or
things like that, yeah.
some prime minister, politician speaking about something that was secret, top secret information.
Yeah. Whenever they can speak completely freely, which is very rarely, I imagine, for politicians to hear what they really think. Of course, now, in a way, we don't really need that, because with Donald Trump, it doesn't really matter. He just says exactly what he thinks anyway in public, even though it's absolutely crazy. He's changed the game a little bit. You no longer need to be a fly on the wall for him because he publicizes it. But for most leaders, you would need to be a fly on the wall to hear what they really think.
Now, we promised you a duck and a goose. We have no chickens, but a sitting duck. Ducks are sometimes hunted. And when it's duck season, people go out with guns and they shoot the ducks that fly in the air. Well, imagine if the duck is sitting on the ground. It's quite easy to shoot or kill. So a sitting duck is anything, a person or a thing, that's very easy to attack or to target. For example, imagine you park in a no parking area in the street, and the police come and then they take your car away. We can say they tow your car away, TOW. They remove your car. Well, obviously, if the car is parked illegally, it's a sitting duck. It's obvious the police are going to take it away. It's a sitting duck. It's waiting to be taken.
An animal similar to a duck, but not exactly the same, is a goose. I think you say ganso in Spanish. A goose, that animal, that has a slightly longer neck than a duck, and it's a bit bigger, a bit feistier as well. Feisty means like full of life. Be careful with them. You don't want to irritate a goose. Yeah? If you irritate a duck, it's no big deal. But if you irritate a goose, they can be nasty. Anyway, a wild goose chase is a futile or hopeless pursuit of something that is impossible or likely to be found. So it's very difficult to catch a goose. As I said, they're feisty. If it runs away, you're not gonna catch it. It's not easy. So a wild goose chase, for example, he sent me on a wild goose chase as he gave me the wrong address and phone number. Well, if you have the wrong address and the wrong phone number, you're absolutely never, ever going to find that person, are you? It's futile. It's a wild goose chase.
I went on a wild goose chase last weekend.
Oh, and what happened? What was the situation?
Well, I was in the countryside chasing a wild goose.
Oh, right. Did you get it in the end?
It was very noisy. No, they're very hard to catch. It was a wild goose chase. I'm trying to read our notes here. I don't know. I think I need new glasses. I'm as blind as a bat. Bats can't see very well. They use, is it radar or sonar? Sonar.
Sonar, I think, yeah.
Yeah, they use sonar. And if you can't see well, or you can't see at all, you can say you're as blind as a bat. If I take off my glasses, I'm as blind as a bat. I can't read the paper. I can't recognize people's faces. I'm as blind as a bat without my glasses.
Did you notice that Craig said as, then an adjective, blind, as, and then the animal, as blind as a bat? Well, there are quite a few idiomatic expressions like that, as something. The next one we've got is as gentle as a lamb. Craig mentioned already the nature of a lamb when he talked about a wolf in sheep's clothing. A lamb is a baby sheep. So obviously, a lamb's a very gentle thing. So if a person is as gentle as a lamb, they're very kind, very mild, very gentle. For example, he was as gentle as a lamb as he helped the old lady across the street and carried her groceries.
I can remember back in the day, many years ago, when I used to drink a lot of beer, and I used to drink a lot of beer. The next day, or even the same night, I used to be as sick as a dog. There's another idiom with as and as, the similes, as sick as a dog, means very sick, very ill. For example, she was as sick as a dog. She had a fever, she had a sore throat and a headache. So it's not only because of alcohol, you can just feel very, very bad, very sick, and you can say, I'm as sick as a dog, I can't come to work today.
And Craig, whenever you woke up the next morning, as well as feeling as sick as a dog, were you like a bear with a sore head?
I was like a bear with a sore head, as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Yes, in a very, very bad mood.
The next one refers to an animal, which is a little bit like a donkey. I never know exactly how to define it. It's a mule, M-U-L-E. What is a mule exactly?
It's a cross, a mixture between a horse and a donkey, I think.
Okay. One thing I do know for sure about mules, and everybody knows, is that they are very stubborn. They are very obstinate. They're unwilling to change their mind or opinion. If a mule doesn't want to walk, you can't get it to walk. It will not move. So the expression, as stubborn as a mule, means that a person is obstinate. For example, he was as stubborn as a mule as he refused to listen to anyone's advice or suggestions. As stubborn as a mule.
My dad used to be as stubborn as a mule. Never listened to reason. Our next idiom is also a simile as something, as wise as an owl. An owl is a nocturnal bird, very big eyes. When it moves to see something, it moves all of its head. I don't think it can move its eyes, so it has to move its head. So, owls are quite famous because of the size of their eyes. They're beautiful looking birds. And the word wise means clever, intelligent. And I don't know why, maybe you have an idea, Reza, why the bird, the particular bird, owl, O-W-L, why it has a reputation for being clever, intelligent, or in this case, wise.
I don't know why, but I know that in quite a lot of cultures, not just in English-speaking culture, but in other countries, they consider owls to be very wise. But I do know a nice little verse about the wisdom, that's the noun, wise is the adjective, the wisdom of owls, which my mum used to always say to me when I was a child growing up. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see, how does it go? One of my mum's favorites. The wise old owl lived in the oak. The more it heard, the less it spoke. The less it spoke, the more it heard. Now, wasn't it a wise old bird?
Yeah.
Good lesson in there, right?
Very good lesson. Yeah, if you read between the lines, or actually read the lines, there's a lot of wisdom in that little rhyme.
As you can see, though, I never did take her advice, and I just keep talking and talking. If only I'd taken her advice.
Well, you wouldn't be a very good podcaster if you didn't talk. So someone who is as wise as an owl is obviously very smart, very knowledgeable. So she was as wise as an owl. This is Reza's mum. She was as wise as an owl. She knew the answer to every question and gave good advice to everyone. And now it's your turn.
No, Craig.
Yeah?
Hold your horses.
Hold my horses?
Hold your horses. Don't worry, there is no horse, mule, or any other animal in this room.
There's no room because of the elephant.
There's no, which we're not talking about. Don't talk about the elephant. I said to Craig, hold your horses, because he wants to end the podcast, but I'm saying, wait, be patient. We haven't finished yet. So the expression, Hold your horses means wait, stop. Yeah, there's something to do first before we carry on. Hold your horses, not so fast. Yeah, hold your horses, Craig. I'm almost ready for the end of the podcast, but don't rush me. Hold your horses.
Okay, are you ready now?
I'm ready now.
Okay. Now it's your turn to practice your English, but before you do that, let's go back and quickly remind you of the idioms we spoke about connected to animals. We had a fish out of water, the elephant in the room. There's all this mess on the floor now. A wolf in sheep's clothing, a leopard can't change its spots, a bull in a china shop,
A dark horse, a fly on the wall, a sitting duck, a wild goose chase,
as blind as a bat, as gentle as a lamb, as sick as a dog, as stubborn as a mule, as wise as an owl, and hold your horses. Now, if you've been a fly on the wall while we recorded this podcast, perhaps it's time for you to say something. Don't be as stubborn as a mule and send us a voice message with your own examples of at least 3 of the idioms we've spoken about today. If you don't use and practice these idioms, they won't stick in your mind. You won't remember them. Send us a voice message and practice these expressions. Go to SpeakPipe, that's speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. And we remind you that you only have 90 seconds to leave your message, but easily you can put 3 or 4 of these idioms in 90 seconds, I'm sure. Reza, how can people reach us by email?
By email, you want to write on a computer, right? Yeah, you don't want to send us a letter, I imagine. You don't want to use snail mail. There's another expression with animals. Snail, those things which move famously very, very, very slowly. Snail, S-N-A-I-L. Snail mail is old letters, paper. Afraid we can't take snail mail. It's got to be email. You could write to Craig@inglespodcast.com or me, belfastreza@gmail.com.
Now, if you're a Spanish speaker, I know many Spanish speakers listen to this podcast. If you want to study for free, why don't you visit the Mención Inglés website? There you'll find courses and material to help you improve your English at no cost. But if you do want to spend money, we do have some paid ebooks and audios for self-study. You can check out the online store at store.mencioningles.net.
As always, we'd like to thank our Patreon sponsors. That's Patreon. The Patreon program is a program in which you can donate as little as $1.50 per month. And as a way of saying thank you to the people who donate that money, we give them instant access to the transcriptions of the audio of this podcast. If you're interested, there's a link in the show notes. It's patreon.com/Ingles podcast.
And thank you very, very much to everybody who is sponsoring us on Patreon. Now, we don't know what we're speaking about next week, but we will have a podcast for you. Until then, thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful week. It's goodbye from me.
And it's bye-bye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.